like to welcome everyone to the December 19th, 2022 council meeting. If you would, please now stand for a call to order and pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence, please. Our first item on the agenda is the public hearing on an update to the capital improvement plan and development impact fee schedule. So, Michelle, if you would please take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. If anyone would like to speak on the TGK Capital Improvement Plan and Development Impact Fee Schedule, we will now welcome you to the podium. This is just for that particular topic. The next item will be general public comments. So is anyone here to speak just on the Capital Improvement Plan or Development Impact Fee Schedule? Okay. We've got a couple people coming in. Let me just ask them. Are you here to speak about the TGK Capital Improvement Plan or Development Impact Fee Schedule? Okay. One more time? Going. All right. We will then close the public hearing, and the Planning Commission will recess to our meeting.
Thank you, Michelle.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, Charles.
before we go to the next item on the agenda, we've got a couple of special folks here I'd like to recognize, if that's okay with you and council.
Yes, sir.
This past week, we had our staff holiday luncheon, and at which time we always like to recognize our staff, the wonderful work that they all do. And in particular, we like to recognize our Department Head of the Year and 2 Employees of the Year. One of the employees is generally an admin type employee, and the other is out in the field. So we'll start with I'd like to start with our Employees of the Year. I'd like to introduce Marin Long and Joe Hedgepeth. If y'all could come up, please. Come on up. Don't be shy. Good job. So, for those of you that visit us at City Hall, Marin's usually one of the first faces you see. She also does our utility billing and just general information for the city. Does an amazing job, always with a smile for us. Joe is in our Parks and Rec department as a team supervisor, leading those crews in our landscaping, our ball field maintenance, and our park maintenance, and does a tremendous job for us. And we definitely appreciate both of them and the work that they do for us day in and day out, and appreciate y'all coming up tonight. And our Mark Slocum Department Head of the Year this year is our IT Manager, Janet Broom. If I can get Janet to come out. These are just some of the faces behind the scenes of the great work that our staff does, and I can't thank y'all enough for just doing such an amazing job for us. Again, thank y'all. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, if you wouldn't mind, before we get to public comments, I'd like to make a statement, if that'd be all right.
Proceed.
Folks, I want you to know that I've identified that I've made error in judgment on a couple of occasions, and I know that some of the comments that I've made on social media have offended some of our residents, and I want you to know that I'm sorry. I'm committed to excellence and improving in this role as your elected council member, and I'm also committed to learning from this. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay. Next item on the agenda is going to be public comments. So when you come to the podium, please state your name and your address clearly so that we can keep a record of it. So the first person to speak would be Mr. Frank Power.
This live, I hope. Everybody hear me? My name is Frank Powell. I live at 3045 Riverbend Drive in TUK, and I've been a resident of TUK for over 10 years at this point. Tonight, I'm here with a number of other concerned citizens. Our concerns are in regard to statements made by Scott Shirley that were reported by WFAE and Newsbreak and brought to our attention at the November council meeting. Statements regarding a beating, such as he got what he asked for. I like accountability for people's actions. Settled with the offended party. No need to further discuss it. This is not settled with us, and we have not seen any evidence that is settled with anyone except Mr. Shirley himself. Even if we accept that a citizen has a right to be homophobic and subscribe to unproven conspiracy theories in his private beliefs, they have no place on our city council. According to South Carolina Code 5-15-150, councilmen swore to preserve the peace equally, fairly, and impartially. These words have an impact on our diverse population. Mr. Shirley, we especially strongly object that you condone violence. To suggest that it is okay to to beat anyone over the head with a hammer is too deplorable for words. To further suggest that homosexuality calls for such a beating is appalling. Imagine the effect of your words on impressionable young people. Mayor Gray and City Councilman, it's a cop-out to blame this debacle on social media and think a new policy will smooth it over. Using Facebook did not create bigoted thinking. It only exposed it to those of us who wanted to believe you were worthy of our trust. How do you plan to deal with the concern beyond muzzling social media? Perhaps diversity training for City Council and others in TUK leadership positions would be a good start. Mr. Shirley, this is not settled, and there is need to further discuss it as long as you retain a seat on TUK City Council, because there is one statement you made we agree with. We like accountability for people's actions. It's time for you to be accountable for yours. You have violated your oath, and we are asking for your resignation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Deborah Ken?
Maybe John Kerr? Sorry.
Maybe. Okay, sorry, John.
Dr. John Kerr, 794 Rocky Point Lane, near Fair City. Mr. Mayor and Councilman, I'd like to speak to public health. I know there's no TUK Public Health Department. We work out of York County Public Health Department, but there are two potential health risks that are menacing us today. Number one would be Lyme disease. It's a bacterial infection, causes significant problems, especially in a prolonged illness, may lead to significant arthritis and chronic fatigue. Risk factors include deer ticks. The bite of the deer tick can inject the bacterium. Treatment would be antibiotics. Sometimes those have to be long-term. And prevention would actually be a real key issue here. Avoid tick bites. And to that end, maybe the common vector of the deer needs to have their population reduced. Number two disease, less heard of one, alpha-gal syndrome. That stands for alpha-galactose. It's a sugar molecule that when the tick bites you, it can inject, and then your body reacts to it in an allergic reaction way. There is no treatment for that except for avoiding red meat. I have a good friend that says all he can eat is things that swim or fly because he's been bit by ticks and has this alpha-gal syndrome. Prevention would be the key. Avoid tick bites, and to that end, the common vector would be the deer in this community. Gentlemen, I propose that you get rid of the deer as a public health concern before it becomes even greater. By the way, the Lyme disease also affects pets. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Kathy Masters?
Hey there, Kathy Masters, 4072 Point Clear. I am asking council, to consider having your discussion and deliberation of agenda items in open session so that the community has the ability to understand how each of our representatives is conducting business on our behalf. I started coming to council meetings in the 90s. I'm here on a regular basis. I've served on multiple committees. I know how to find information, and I'm not uninformed. Yet I'm finding myself asking what just happened. We're seeing fully formed ordinances, which is a change in our law, being presented to council for a vote when it has never been requested, never been discussed in open session, and very little information on the front end before a vote is taken. We understand this is a business meeting, and it would be impossible to discuss all the details of running a business like you're doing. But the people, the citizens need to understand how the people they elected to represent them feel about these items. Again, I'm asking council to consider having your discussion in open session.
Thank you, Kathy. Ugo Massetts? Okay.
name is Olga Mazets, and I'm a new resident of Tiga K. I live at 1746 Wildwood Terrace Trail, and I'm here with a few residents of our community. We have many questions on proposed adoption, the city center mixed use plan as an addition to the 2025 comprehensive plan. So I will pose 3 questions and I will try to break them into 3 parts. So whenever you can answer them, that'll be fine. So my first question is about infrastructure. So according to the proposed plan, there will be a road built that will be connecting North Carolina. Our community has a lot of kids that are riding bikes and scooters. What's going to be a speed limit? Will you be implementing any speed bumps? And overall, how will you, are there any plans for the safety of the community? Another question is intersection of Gold Hill Road and Hubert Graham Way. It looks like on the plan, there'll be a road going through Windhaven and crossing Gold Hill. This road will be turning into Hubert Graham Way. How did you will work on the traffic pattern? Will there be any turning lanes, and overall, what will be, I guess, remedy to control the traffic in this area? And my third question is about schools. When we were, buying our homes, we were promised a new park and a new middle school. So far, this proposed plan does not have a new middle school. So is the new middle school still in the plans? How will the city address the influx of more kids? Because per plan, they're building right now 180 townhomes, and there are more homes going to be built in that area. And will there be any extension to the existing elementary school? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anna Hatcher?
Hello, my name is Anna Hatcher, 1639 Corwin Bend Road. I've been living in Tegeke for about 14 years. I lived in different parts, and recently, about a year and a half ago, I moved to Windhaven neighborhood, new neighborhood. So what I wanted to, I know that this neighborhood was planned a long time ago, and it was a talk of the town. Everybody knew that it's coming. And there's even more exciting news that you're planning to build all of these wonderful coffee shops and art stores and restaurants. So what I wanted to bring up to your attention that the current noise ordinance, since this is a residential area that's going to be existing, and it's already existing right next to the mixed use area, there should be a better noise ordinance that covers and protects the lives and the livelihood of the residents that actually live next to the restaurants. Because I believe that such measures are necessary, as in the past, the existing noise ordinance was violated by the nearby restaurant located at 2150 Gold Hill Road. It was very difficult for me and for my neighbors to get some kind of enforcement of the noise ordinance. I was told that the restaurant is allowed to play. By the way, the restaurant played 8 months out of the year. The restaurant plays loud, very loud rock concerts for 3 hours, 8 times a month. So this is very loud. I can hear it in my home. I can hear it on my patio, and it was very difficult to get in the enforcement to stop this noise. The way I read the noise ordinance, it's very clear to me that that shouldn't be happening. However, that was not the response from the city council. That was not the response, not always the response from the other city officials. It was mentioned before by Scott Shirley that the business deserves to be successful, and the residents may need to adjust the expectations. I don't want to adjust expectations to my rest, to my sleep, and to actually my life. That's not what the city of TKK is about. I lived here for a very long time, actually. So what I would like to propose is, the change to the existing Section 3494 noise violation to include a clear, understanding of what a noise is. Since this new development and the residential area existing next to the mixed-use area is going to be similar to Baxter, then the noise ordinance should be similar to Fort Mill noise ordinance. Okay. Okay. So I would like for the noise ordinance to clearly say that any noise of the character, intensity, and continued duration which substantially interferes with the comfortable enjoyment of private dwellings by person of ordinary sensibilities here declared to be a nuisance. I also think that the use of sound amplifying devices and musical instruments should be prohibited next to in any residential zoned area or within 450 feet of any residentially occupied structure in any zone. There also can be what can be implemented that the noise shouldn't exceed 65 decibels, and there are plenty of recommendations on how to measure that in any residential area or within 450 feet of any residential structure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Augie Wong?
Good evening. Augustine Wong at 2025 Emerald Pines Drive, TKK. I've lived here since 2005. I'm going to comment about the soccer fees increase for youth soccer, and I don't even have kids in playing soccer, rec soccer anymore. I'm also a certified U.S. Soccer Federation referee, so I do this for, I like to do it for the kids. In my years, and I probably, in the 17 years I've been here, I've volunteered as a coach, soccer coach. I probably have coached your kids, or maybe some of your grandkids. And I've also helped with the planting of the seed designed for the Catawba Park. So I know I like this community. And I've also had all my kids, 4 kids, played recreational soccer because it was affordable, it was accessible, and it was easy to get them out and see if they want to continue playing on a very affordable and accessible manner. Basically to kick the tires or kick the ball, if you will. And as a referee, like I said, I've done a lot of refereeing in other high levels, but I do for recreational TK because, like I said, I like to do it. I have ejected parents for unruly behavior, and I've red-carded coaches for unruly behavior. Imagine, and that's just in the rec program. Once, so it is very affordable. Now I heard that the fees for soccer has gone up, and kids have to buy their own jersey. The last time I checked, it was $34 a piece. You have to buy 2. So from $75, now it's $100 for fees. Add the $75 in cost, you're looking at $175 minimum for any kids in TK to enjoy an accessible, a beautiful game to play the game. So because of that, nobody would want to do that. And imagine now that it is a very expensive sport, coaches and parents are going to be more belligerent to other players, other kids, because now they have paid $175 to play a game, and they have to measure that in terms of their behavior. So I want to please consider and see how that works. I mean, that's a rec program. That says park and rec program. Why are we sending it all for club? Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mary Eichert?
Mary Eichert. I live at 25015 Molokai Drive. I guess it's just destiny to be back up here in front of y'all. Honestly, I didn't want to be. It takes a lot to get this shy introvert up in front of y'all. This is the third time now. I've been on the news, so I don't know if I should thank you for helping me get my public speaking skills a little bit better, or to be angry. Like I said, I wasn't sure I'd be here tonight, but I'm taking my cue from a very strong individual who stood before you last month and addressed an issue that I can only imagine was painful and uncomfortable to talk about. When I watched it on the YouTube later, I just was blown away. I realized that this person should have never been put in this position in the first place, nor should anyone. So I'm back here in support of anyone who feels like they don't have the balls to come forward to speak their truth. You can. I'm here, like I said, this is my third time. It should be done. Guys, you have a problem. 3 of you ran your election on campaign on a Make Atigake Great Again. It doesn't feel great anymore. Things feel unstable. They feel angry. We have city officials dressing up as sharpshooters and dead deer for Halloween. We have people taking down other people's Christmas lights because they don't like the colors. There was a gathering at Town Hall a few weeks ago to address the appropriate social media issue that the City Hall closed early with no warning and no comment, nothing from any of the council members. Y'all may not share the same views, but your silence is just as complicit. I've been so disappointed on how all of this has been handled, and y'all need to hear that. You all need to be held accountable for that. And as far as I know, y'all still might be shooting the deer. I don't know. I don't know where you stand on that. You haven't really said anything. You all know where I stand on that issue, but I did want to leave a little side comment that I heard a rumor that you all may not let us know if you all do decide to bring in the sharpshooters, when and where. I really hope that's just a rumor and that's not true. I know this is a business. I don't have any idea what it's like to be sitting up there. All I know is this city has a lot of scar tissue that needs to be repaired, and it needs to be done quick. You are our elected officials. We need you to be better versions of yourselves for the city, for the residents, and for the wildlife. I know that sounds weird, I'm just gonna say it. I hope you all do some serious soul searching over the holidays and the new year. We deserve better.
Thank you, Mayor. Judy Wong?
Judy Wong, 2025 Emerald Pines Drive, and yes, I am Augustine Wong's wife. So I'm going to speak on the same issue, and I'm going to speak to everybody, and I kind of wish we were this way, but we're not. I mean, the question I have is TGK the good life? We're having a hellacious problem with transparency. We are having a hellacious problem with transparency. Somehow this rec program went to a non-for-profit, but that acts like a for-profit organization, a travel soccer club. I heard nothing about it. And you talk about those angry parents, they're actually lowering the official fees by 25%. So we're gonna pay more. Nobody's gonna wanna work here because my kids, my family can go work as soccer officials up in North Carolina for 40 to 70% more and not have to deal with the angry members of their community. So we can't have our kids. I'd raised 4 kids here who loved the TGA Iraq soccer, but I could only afford it as a stay-at-home mom because it was affordable. It's no longer affordable, and it's ridiculous, and you all should be ashamed. Because we came here to have beautiful parks and affordability and safe environment for our kids. And so basically, in case anybody who doesn't have kids in the program, you're asking these parents to pay $17 a game. They only play 10 games. You guys won't go out and spend $17 for a meal today, but somehow these residents are supposed to pay what's equivalent to $17 a game because it's $170 for the program for 7. You know, I'm just trying to put this, take the pie apart and make sure people understand. So the question is why are we not being transparent? Why are these things going to these groups without having parents say, look, maybe that's not a good idea? I mean, these refs are going to be out here. We can't get the young refs in here. I've seen my kids' friends. They ref one game because y'all can't behave. And then they never ref again because somebody chewed them up and spit them out with their words. But money motivates them. And they're not going to come out for $15 and listen to y'all's BS. Who would? I have 5 soccer officials in my house. And so, yes, as a mama, I'm going to fiercely defend anybody who tries to touch my baby bears, even though they're bigger. So consider if we really have the good life, TGK.
Thank you, Judy. Derek Stevens.
Hello, Derek Stevens, 7098 Anchorage Lane. Just here today to talk not for or against the idea of whether you want to stop people from feeding deer, whatever you want to decide on that, cool with me, but we need a clear law, and the ordinance that you're considering right now is about as clear as mud. So, for starters, it doesn't define what food is. By having a lawn, am I feeding the deer intentionally, recklessly? It seems like there's a carve out there for bird feeders because you carved out birds other than wildfowl. But if I have a bird feeder and I know darn well eventually a squirrel's going to get in there, am I recklessly feeding the squirrels? If I have an apple tree and I don't clean up the apples as they fall quick enough and the deer get them, am I recklessly feeding the animals? I think we need to think about all of the sort of human things that we take for granted and we don't really want this thing to affect. Otherwise, I think we run the risk of, I hate to say it, but putting neighbor against neighbor when they have vendettas, and it's like, oh, we can point to this and say they left a little food bowl out for Fido and a raccoon got some of it, so call the cops. We don't want that. So I'm just asking, again, not to scrap the idea, but if you want to go back to it, maybe take it back to the drawing board. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Colleen Philo. Fields.
Colleen Fields, 25036 Timberlake Drive. I have lived in TK since August of 1988. I have seen it all. I've heard it all. Scott Shirley, you're a disgrace to this council. You need to be removed. You have stirred up so much stuff, not only with what you posted about Pelosi, but all of your angriness about the deer in TK. Deer in TK. I'm sorry. I'm done?
Will not have profanity in this. No. Sorry, that's disrespectful to everybody here. Will not have profanity in this. No, ma'am, he was not being disrespectful to Scott Shirley. He was being disrespectful to everyone in chambers at this point in time. And if I have an outburst from you, you can go too. Thank you. Folks, come up here and say what you'd like to say, but do it with couth. Do it with the effect that we're trying to all be TKKians. And please don't do it with cuss words and other swearing. We won't have that. Might have to help me. Last name Chin. Can you tell me your first name, sir? Muthu Pandian, okay. Thank you.
So this is Muthu Pandian Chandrayan.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm new resident to TKK. I started living in Vindevan community, 3031 Vindevan Lane, like for last 6 months. So as my neighbor said earlier, we saw that an announcement about the city center district. Very happy to hear. So what we would like to know, so what are the options to get more information on that? We understand that it's too early about the district. We saw that there are plans of having high density buildings and then the medium and low density buildings. We would like to understand what that means for us and then how it will impact the community as such, because commercial is coming very near to the houses, how it will impact, and then how do we know more about it? Is there any community reach out programs, or is this the meeting is the point of contact for that? So we just wanted to know more about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's don't do that. Priyank Ongwak.
Good evening, everyone. It's Priyank Agrawal, 3046 Vindevan Lane. I also recently moved here. It's only 6 months. So when we saw the new concept of 2025 TKK City Center, it's looking nice. But when I saw more clearly, it seems like there are a lot of parking areas and mixed buildings are coming very close to houses. So I just considering the safety and the privacy of the residents, we just want to know how much will be the buffer space between the residential plot and the parking. Because if I considering my home, it's all surrounded by the parkings as per the conceptual plan. And I don't want some just next to my house, there's a lot of parking and the cars are staying, right? And what people are coming there, we don't know. So what is the buffer space? How much the buffer space will be there? Is there any plan for the boundary wall between the commercial and residential space? That we just wanted to know. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Sheba Sagers?
Good evening, council members, and thank you for asking this. So my name is Shiva Prasad Sakiri, and my residence address is 3066 Windhaven Lane. So I am raising concerns on the mixed-use land with the new plan coming up in 2025. So there is a stretch like behind Windhaven Lane. There is like 3-4 hectares of the trees are there, so you are going to cut over. That is in the plan, and I'm raising concerns on that. So what kind of building density? There is a building density. So what kind of outlets or business outlets you are going to set it up there? So I want to know that clearly. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Murali Krishan.
Hi, it's Murali Krishnan. Again, I'm from the same community, 3050 Windhaven Lane, new resident of that community. While seeing the 2025 TKK development plan, it has a lot of two to three stories building and other parking areas, but we don't see anything in particular with the parks or the playgrounds. So when we moved into the community, we were told that the community, the city is going to build a park nearby, a big park or a playground, but we don't see it in the plan. So we just wanted to know whether there is a park or playground planned in that area or somewhere near that area for our kids. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Tarun Shukla.
Tarun Shukla, 3076 Windhaven Lane. I'm here with my fellow Windhaven community residents, and my questions are very similar to what they've already asked. It's related to the mixed-use area and the city development plan. My question is specific to the businesses, those are being planned in the mixed-use area. Like, what kind of businesses are being planned? What's the resident choice and quality of life was considered when planning the building next to the household? How long those businesses would be open? And if these are like restaurants or pubs, will there be consumption of alcohol on the premises? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kara Benton?
Hello, my name is Kara Benton. I live at 1749 Lakeland Trail Drive. There are two things I want to address. One, I just would like to thank you for creating the social media policy. Mr. Shirley, I think you should be embarrassed that the reason this policy needed to be created was mainly for your actions and behavior online. I think you certainly do not represent the character and beliefs of our city. And I would really like to encourage the city and the other council members to publicly denounce Mr. Turley's statements. I think we all know in this day and age that our words matter. And I think how we react and how we respond to people when they make such hateful, homophobic, and other such comments says a lot about us as well as a community. I really don't think that you embody the qualities and the temperament that we expect and deserve as citizens of TKK. My second comment is in regard to the changes to the Parks and Rec policy that strikes the prohibition of firearms at special events. From my understanding, this is not required by state law to allow firearms, and there is language in there noting that municipalities have the option to have a temporary removal of those rights. So I would just like to understand more of the thought as to why we need to strike that and why we feel that we need to allow firearms at these events. I think, you know, a lot of us here have children. We attend these with our children. There is alcohol served at these events. I believe there's also a policy that you cannot consume alcohol while carrying. I don't know how that would be enforced. I don't know how that's going to impact any of the vendors that are selling alcohol. And I think this is not a gun debate. This is just really a question in asking you to use common sense as you think about that. And then just to echo what other people have been saying, I think we're all just asking for more transparency. We can talk about the signature waste contract and the RFP and how it appears nobody had time to respond. So whether that was just an oversight of when the contract was expiring or whatever it was, I think it's really doing a disservice to the citizens to not keep on top of things like that, especially these 5-year contracts where we end up losing services and paying more. And I think we saw that with the soccer as well. So thank you.
Amen. Amanda Richardson?
Amanda Richardson, 7254 Cascading Pines Drive. I don't think I'm saying anything probably that hasn't already been said, but I think that people need to speak up so that council understands that it's not an isolated person. It's not just a few people. There are a lot of residents that are angry about things that have been said on social media. People have been canceled for a lot less, and I think some sort of action should take place, whether that is to publicly denounce or whether that means removal. But when I look behind me, I see a lot of diversity in the residents, and I think that you all need to listen to what people have to say. And as a mother of young kids, they're told all the time not to bully, not to harass online, and I would expect that as leaders of the city that you would be leading by example.
Thank you, ma'am. Heather Jones?
Hello again, Council Mayor. First, I wanted to start off, Councilmember Heislip, thank you for the social media policy that I see is on the agenda tonight. I appreciate that. And I'm going to cut about half what I had to say because I think it's very clear that there's a theme with communication and transparency tonight, and I'm here specifically to speak about the Parks and Rec situation with how it was handled at the November meeting. Councilmember Shirley moved to strike line 5 of section 2. It was a motion that was unanimously accepted and passed with no actual reading of the language. The struck line, for those who hadn't known, was firearms at city events are prohibited. Very simple. So we're going into a second reading with 0 discussions or explanations as to why the council is moving to make this change. And regardless of what your personal stance is on firearms and the current laws at the state level and for various things, we all want what's best for our community. Even the appearance of deception or opaque bad faith actions by our elected officials, especially around topics of this magnitude, create confusion and mistrust with the residents and the people in the community. That's not appropriate. So here are some of the questions I've heard in my own personal conversations with neighbors and also things that I've considered as I've thought about this. So the state code 23-31-520 sections A through C allows cities the option. It's to pick, are you going to restrict guns at special events or are you going to allow them under the overarching open carry laws that are now in place? Regardless of which option our city selects, although allowing guns would put us out of sync with other cities in the area, Fort Mill, Rock Hill, Clover, all are still carrying that provision as best I've seen. What the state language requires is that under either condition, you have to have certain signage, you have to have certain ways of alerting during the permitting process, and neither set of the language from either the previous reading or this cover that. So has city council been involved to discuss this language discrepancy? Have they been involved to address any issues of liability if there's an accidental or intentional discharge of a weapon at a city event, if we choose to move forward and allow for open carry? That's something I think needs to be considered. We know how lawsuits work in this country right now. Another question I have is whether TGK Police Department was consulted prior to proposing this change, and what is their stance? I don't get to speak for them. I don't know what their stance is. But I know that when the law was being passed at the state level, most of the big police agencies opposed it because it adds a layer of burden and risk to our police force that makes it difficult for them to respond to incidents and manage large events. They support it once it's in place, they do their job, they're wonderful, and I know our police department would as well. But have they been asked, and please share their thoughts with us so that we know that they're okay with that if that's what they want moving forward. Also, has the business and vendor community been consulted, since they're the ones selling alcohol? And again, there's liability issues with if something happens and it turns out that alcohol was involved, what's going to happen on that level? And the residents deserve to have input as well on these things. Again, this is moving forward with none of that. So I hope that the council will consider these questions moving forward and work to address them fully before the vote.
Thank you. Ryan Lentini.
Good evening, Council. 1169 Molokai Drive. I'm here to talk about speed limits, specifically on my street, Molokai Drive, and really it can apply to a lot of the other streets in Old TGK that don't have sidewalks. Fact of the matter is we're not going to get sidewalks. It's never going to happen. So on a street like mine, the speed limit's still 25 miles per hour. If you go about the rest of TGK, which a lot of people are right now, looking at Christmas lights, it might be a little hard at night, but I've gone around and seen that the speed limits are very variable. Some are 15 miles an hour, some are 20, some are 25. Molokai is a busy road. It's a windy road, just like a lot of the other ones in TGK. So you have a lot of blind corners. I've got 3 elementary school age kids. I'm out there walking with my wife and neighbors a lot in the morning. People speed, and it's gonna happen. And accidents are gonna happen. There's really no reason why we should have 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on Molokai Drive, especially further back in there. It's not a major thoroughfare, and really anything other than TGK Drive, I don't know why they all aren't 15 or 20 miles an hour. It's a simple thing that you can do. Everybody has always talked about public safety. This is I call this a public safety softball here. This takes very little money, a few new speed limit signs, and in fact on Molokai Drive, the only speed limit sign is actually before the turnoff to the clubhouse here. After that, the rest of the way down Molokai, there's not actually a posted speed limit. One more thing, one of my neighbors asked me to ask for is a stop sign at Mike Highway, because as you're coming in, people just take that corner real fast, and that's a corner where the kids hang out at. The golf course may not like it, but they love to congregate there. And there's a great bush, they have a Ford in there, and it's just a very busy intersection. And so without a stop sign there, like at Emerald Pine Drive, that one that's just sort of right in the middle of the road there, it forces people to stop, forces you to stop there. So I think it'd be appropriate at Mike Highway there. But yeah, safety softball, guys. 15, 20 miles an hour. I do it now anyways. It makes you get home 1 minute later. It's really not a big deal. All you gotta do is have a little bit of planning. So appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Jim Zemer.
Hello, all. Just here. Jim Zemer, 8038 Windjammer Drive, representative of the Carolina Show Ski Team. And first of all, I just want to pass along our thank you and our appreciation for all the support we get out of the entire staff, the council, the city, Charlie, Joey, Dustin. Everybody is so supportive for our ski team, and as behalf of the team and president for the last 3 years, we're doing our best to make TK that city that we all talk about, and the good life. And we're very excited where we are. My second point is I want to make a special call out and thank you to the Park and Rec Department. They're always right on the spot with everything. We have a great cooperation with them. We start talking in spring about mulching the park. They bring all the mulch. We put it out. We need benches. We put it in. We stain it. This last fall, we did a massive project. We rebuilt one of the 2 docks there. The ski team did it. We were going to do it regardless. Park and Rec Department helped us out a little bit, and they also got rid of all the debris for us. We tore that. We were just going to redeck it, and it, just like everything at your house, you get into it, and it was rotten. And the project was 2 times more than we thought. But if you guys get a chance, make your way down to Windjammer and take a look. I'd be proud to have that dock at my house. I don't have that good of products. We learned that last dock only lasts 8 years. So we scratched our heads and said, what did we do wrong? We rebuilt it with ground contact treated wood. We put joist tape over all the top. We rebuilt it with composite decking, and I'm pretty proud to say I think that's going to last for 15 years now. So between us and the rec department, I really think it's great. And my third point is I just want to kind of highlight a little bit about the ski team while I have another minute and what we've done this year. This was what I would call an extremely successful year. As a citizen before a representative of the city or the ski team, I was excited about what the ski team provided there. And as my kids were born and grew up, we became part of the team. And now my kids have gone off to Clemson, and my vision and my catch with the team is I want that thing to be there in 10 and 20 years. So I've stayed on and taken a special project to make sure that we have our finances in place. So we looked at our expenses and our income, and we're all 501(c)(3). We're donations and what we pitch in and what we get that way. But we've developed a plan where we can have a new jump and new motors as a needed process, and we put aside our savings for that. So we're really excited about the future. And just to quick finish up, a couple things that we did this year, besides providing 10 free shows to the community, where we entertained at least 4,000 people, that's by water and land at no charge to the citizens. We also had learn to ski events on 6 different occasions where we teach people that don't have boats to ski. It's a $50 charge. $15 of that just goes to insurance. And it's just to keep us going. But we taught over 60 kids to ski that would never have that opportunity. And we invite that for other options moving forward. I want to point that out, that it's something that we make available to you guys. And thirdly, I'm just so excited about our next year. Between the new talent we've got, the kids that we've grown up, and we're peaking right at the high school age now. We not only are going to the regional tournament in Florida, but we applied as a special a request to the Nationals to go to Indiana, and they've just approved us. So in August, we're taking our team to Indiana too, where we're going to compete against the best teams in the nation. And as a citizen and someone who knows this, in Wisconsin, there's 30 teams plus. In Florida, there's 10 teams. We don't have another team like this between here in Ohio or here in Florida. And that's why I really do everything I can to keep this here. And I just want to thank everybody who helps us.
Thank you, Jim. Mike Wegner.
Michael Wegner at 935 Angelica Lane in Tega. I just wanted to say it's been brought to my attention that some of the commenters here, and I've seen on social media, city page, and two news organizations talking about social media policy, and I see the city council has responded by creating one, and that's good. Wanted to talk about that, and my opinion is, this is not my opinion, but it's what a fellow neighbor in my subdivision stated. They stated, "I am happy with the election results." That was his opinion. It is actually an opinion that I share. I've actually voted for all 5 members of this council. And I don't think that's a controversial opinion. I don't think that's a very trollish opinion. And that's going to come back to what I'm referring to, but to have these individuals who sacrifice for, there is pay, but not very substantial pay, volunteer their time and do what they do for the city, I appreciate it, and most people do. So that makes it not a very controversial opinion to say I'm very happy with the election results. Mr. Gray, the mayor, was elected with almost 10% more than his competitor, which I'm very fortunate and pleased because the other candidate who opposed him actually attempted to have the police arrest me for having yard signs that I placed that merely just announced her positions and her organizations that she's a part of. So I'm glad that he's the mayor. And Sir Thomas Heislip got the #1 amount of votes. He got 33% of the votes. Second most amount of votes, the reason he's on city council also, is Mr. Shirley with 28% of the votes. So when this person says I'm very happy with the election results, I agree with that position, and the large amount of city members are, the people who showed up to vote. So I keep hearing threats. Things are a threat to our democracy. I keep hearing that a lot the last year. There's been a lot of controversy, and that's the thing I hear a lot, threats to our democracy. In our neighborhood, in our subdivision, and in our community, we've seen threats to our democracy, such as people stealing yard signs, people putting fascist next to parents who are running, and it exists. And I think what this is all about now is people attempting to redo the election, and what I feel would be the greatest threat to democracy, having the voters' will overruled by a mob, taking these people off of council when they're very clearly very popular, and that's why they got elected. So as an example to the person who got last place in city council elections that was most recently held, in a response to I am very happy with the election results, which was a comment by my neighbor, this person, Christopher Halverson for Tega City Council, wrote, "P.S. Please do not be an unpleasant soul who trolls me like 13 minutes after the election is over, like Drew Wilson did." And he quoted him, "I am happy with the election results." That's what it takes to get this person set off. There's a lot of contention. That didn't seem a very contentious post. But Christopher responded further, "Would you like some tequila with your salt in the wound? Thanks, A blank." And refers to a person's disgusting body part. So that's the person who's #1 that I'm seeing in the news. There's fake news, in my opinion, showing up on video. He is front and center, who just simply lost the election with the last place result. He wants to have this person removed. He wants him to step down or be condemned. And I think it's very much obviously a political ploy. It's an attempt to have an actual threat to democracy, to have him removed to the city council. And that's where it's coming from, and I thought I'd bring that to people's attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Steve Stacklehouse.
Steve Stacklehouse, 259 Shoreline Parkway. It's my honor to be here before the council tonight. I represent the silent majority in Tega, and I just want you to know that we respect your private rights and your private life. And what you do in your private life does not cross over to your public life. We know that when you're acting in a public capacity, you represent Tega, and when you're not acting in a public capacity, it's your private life, and that doesn't matter to me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ryan Scally.
I just want to say thank you all for your hard work. I'm glad you're sitting there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Byron Reitzel.
I thought that was just signing in that we're here, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and support everyone up here. I voted for each and every one of you. I know some of you sort of personally, and you're representing TK, and I love everything you do, and you have my full support.
Thank you, man. And that will conclude public comments.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, may I speak?
You have the floor.
So, everybody hang on. I wish that this mic was movable and I could carry it because I kind of want to pace around a little bit. Let me just say something. Obviously, a lot of you people came to speak about some comments that our colleague posted online. I personally thought that the one post was abhorrent in nature. I don't agree with it. Certainly didn't like what was said, but he's owned it and he's apologized for it. And it reminds me about that old saying about people who live in glass houses. And some comments were made tonight that, this has started a divide and it started anger. Man, it didn't start a month ago, and it didn't start 2 months ago. I can remember back a couple years ago, our U.S. Representative, Maxine Waters, came right out and said, if anybody sees anybody who works for Donald Trump or is associated with him, and you see them out in public with their families, I want you to get in their face. I want you to yell at them. I want you to make them so uncomfortable that they leave. Is that something that we do in a civilized society? We would take a man or a woman who's out with their family trying to have a quiet dinner, and we would accost them in public just because of who they work for, what they believe in? Is that what this country's about? He was just mentioned a moment ago. Mr. Halverson posted a whole lot of untruths about our city manager and the Signature Waste contract, and did a deep dive into it and found out that everything he posted was incorrect. And he apologized in an email to us, but I don't recall that he had the fortitude, I won't use the word someone else used, I don't want to get thrown out, the fortitude to apologize on all the social media sites that he made the accusations. Anger, people who live in glass houses. A couple years ago, Ralph Norman. Now, you may not agree with Ralph Norman's politics, but one thing everybody can agree on is he is for the city of TK. He loves this city. He left his family on vacation to come do our July 4th parade, and a resident crawled up in his golf cart in front of Ralph Norman and the mayor at the time, wife, and threw F-bomb after F-bomb after F-bomb at him about what an awful person he was. Seriously? Would we do that? Now, I'll speak for the other side as well. Donald Trump, Lord knows did that man throw some horrible things out there. With his mouth, with his thumbs, with everything else. Abhorrent comments, again. Not acceptable. It's not acceptable in our country. I may not agree with the current job that our current administration is doing, but I don't post anything ugly about it. I'm not happy with the results. I'm not happy with our economy. I'm not happy with a lot of things. But you know what? He's our president. America voted for him. He's going to be our president for more than likely another 2 years. Used to be the most powerful position in the world. Maybe it still is. I don't know. But I'm not going to throw anything ugly and angry out there because I just don't believe in that. It's just wrong. So where does this all end? Where does it start? It starts with you. Starts with you. Starts with you and me and everybody else. So the anger needs to go away. And I'm asking all of you to quote our great mayor, be a TKKian, not a TKKaren. Cut it out.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, if I may, I'd like to make a suggestion that we take item 7C and move it up to what I think might be a more appropriate place right before item 3.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to move item number 7C to be next on the agenda between item 2 and 3.
Second. I have a motion and a second to move item 7C to the next part of the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. So the next item on our agenda will be item 7C. This is a resolution adopting a social media policy for city council. Social media has become a very prevalent part of most people's lives and can be an effective form of communicating and staying in touch with others. As a local government, we are able to use social media to get information out to the general public quickly. Council has asked staff to draft a policy that would apply to city council, and that is what we have before us for this consideration this evening.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution adopting a social media policy for city council.
Second. I've got a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Sure. Well, the ruling is that our social media policy is going to mirror the city staff's social media policy. Sure, you can go up on the website and check it out. If you'd like to look at it, it's there on the website.
Call him to order. Stop all that shit now.
Folks, I'm calling this back into order. I'm sorry, this has been voted on, it's been passed, and that's it. If you'd like for the information, you can look it up on our website for the city, or you can go to City Hall and ask for a copy of it yourself.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, just for the public's knowledge, these agenda items, as well as all the ordinances that we're discussing and voting on here tonight, are posted Thursday, 3 days prior, on Thursday of every prior week. So when you know we have a city council meeting, if you go to the city's website, the agenda with all the ordinance, all the attachments are there for anyone to read and to come and talk about it. And the reason we can't read every single one of these to you is, I mean, this policy is like 30 pages long. So we can't sit up here and read just that policy to you and then every other ordinance and policy we do. So that's the reason we don't. But if you want to see it, it's there, it's available. So, just be aware of that, and please read them ahead of time and come and give us your input before we vote. Thank you.
That's what public comment's about. Okay. Okay, so.
Yeah, he just
Yes,
has
sir.
to get back to it.
Yes, sir. So our next item on the agenda is a special presentation for year-end reports for Park and Recreation, Police and Fire.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm happy to be here, provide a quick recap of the past year. I'm also glad that I was able to go before our first responders that are going next, because they usually get to show off their cool new pieces of equipment and sometimes a new canine. So we'll jump right into it. This was an exciting year for the Parks and Recreation Department, and I'd like to start with the city's most important asset, our staff. Like many departments, we had the opportunity to welcome several new faces, and in total we hired 6 fantastic individuals to our department. Our maintenance staff. The unsung heroes of our department are our maintenance staff members. We had 4 hires this fiscal year, starting with our ground superintendent, Scott Cook. He's brought over 20 plus years of golf course experience and is a current resident of the city. Brian Baker is our jack of all trades and currently a big part of our landscaping team. Paul Bartolotta, or Paulie B, along with Alec Guerra, form the core of our recreation team. Both bring amazing personalities and attitudes to our team.
You may remember one of our employees of the year, that is Alex, other half. These guys have been fantastic additions to our department. In addition to our maintenance staff, we have also hired 2 new office staff. Walker Johnson returns to the department after a brief hiatus of selling insurance, and I don't blame him, and oversees our recreation sports as the recreation superintendent. TKK's own Jimmy Reeves comes full circle, from once playing in our sports programs to now overseeing them. I continue to tell them they have big shoes to fill, but they continue to do a great job. Moving on to our recreation. These graphs show a comparison between our spring and fall registrations and our wait lists. In spring 2022, we had 2,082 registered participants. In spring 2021, we had 1,791. So as you can see, we continue to grow. In fall 2022, we had 2,089 registered participants compared to 1,834 in the fall of 2021. As you also can see, we were able to reduce our wait list totals from spring and fall. Adult sports participants, our sports teams may fluctuate by the season, but remain in the consistent range in the spring and the fall. Catawba Park, one of our most highly anticipated projects to be completed in the city, was Catawba Park. These pictures do a great job of illustrating how far the park has come from the start of construction in the top left corner, working its way through all the way down to the bottom right to where we are now. And this is where we are now. Catawba Park has become a welcomed addition to the Parks and Recreation Department and surrounding community. Since we've opened the gates, there's been constant usage, whether it's the playground, walking trails, or the sports fields. The pictures on the right were taken by visitors at the park and are 2 of my favorites. Moving on to almost everyone else's favorite thing, community events. We had a total of 9 community events this past year, including July 4th, concerts, and fall festival. We've had a great turnout from our community at all these events. Concert attendance continues to grow, and we anticipate it doing the same next year. Our events manager, KDB, continues to do a great job of making these events come to life. Beach and Swim Center. As you can see, we had a fantastic turnout this year with pool memberships. The concession stand renovations and new furniture was a big draw for a lot of our new members. In addition to the concession stand and new furniture, the outside of the building had a much needed facelift with paint. The gathering room and restrooms were also renovated. Projects and strategic data. What are other tasks our maintenance team does throughout the year? Our projects. As you can see, we were very busy over the course of the year with multiple projects. 2 of the ones that we'd like to highlight is the installed sod and perennials down Stonecrest, and then also the new sidewalk down Windward Drive right next to Rundy Park. I know a lot of people were really happy about that added sidewalk. There's several other completed projects I won't go through step by step, but as you can see, we have stayed busy. At the start of the fiscal year, each department tracked data as part of our strategic plan, fact-finding. If you ever wondered what our staff did when you were not looking, it's shown under our Parks and Green Space. As you can see, Joe, who is our Employee of the Year, has planted 159 landscaping beds just over the course of this past year. I won't go through each of them, but as you can see, we stayed busy. Jim mentioned about the ski show. We had 10 shows. They also had the Learn to Ski, and we also had paddleboard leagues, log rollings, everything like that. So we had a lot of lake-related activities open to the public. And finally, I added this picture because whenever you can show a prom picture, you do it. Myself and the city are fortunate to have these individuals a part of this department. Again, I want to recognize all of their hard work and dedication throughout this past year. We really could not do it without them. Our new staff, which we just recently hired, and KDB, our events manager, is not pictured, but those are the people that keep the city running, landscaping and Parks and Recreation wise. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you, Dustin.
You'd have thought they'd have given you a box to stand on for that picture at least.
Awesome. Mayor, Council, Thank you for the opportunity to come stand before you tonight and share with you what the men and the women of the TKK Police Department have done for you and this city this year. It has certainly been a year to where we have worked very hard to change our culture, to invest in our people, and also to invest in the citizens of TKK. Whenever I came here about a year ago, I asked the city manager, and I presented him with a plan, and part of that plan was to at least give me 7 months to gather data from you, from the citizens, from the officers, and compile a 3-year strategic plan. That plan is completed and been given to the city manager for your review. And from that strategic plan, we have come up with 5 goals in which over the next 3 years, I will share with you how we're doing and how we're achieving those 5 goals. The first one is going to be to positively impact the employee satisfaction, build trust and relationships through the community through engagement, professional development of our team members, the safest city and increase efficiency through education and outreach, and then also the infrastructure investment into the police department and our employees. First and foremost, we come in to show our teammates and our staff at the police department, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And our command staff have invested to show our teammates that we care about them, not only just how they perform their duties, but about their personal life, about their professional development. We have invested in them, and we're going to continue to invest in them. We wanted to develop relationships. We wanted to bring about a culture of leadership, not management. We wanted to have our mission and our visions and our values plainly stated so our team members would know exactly what is expected of them each and every day. The picture that you see here is currently posted on the wall right in the patrol work bay. So each and every day that our team members walk in, that's the first thing they see. So they know that what our daily mission is, what our vision that we want to achieve within the next 5 years, and then what are the behavior and action steps that we want them to take each and every day, what we expect of them and their performance of their duties. We wanted to gain their trust and get their information from them. We had one-on-one meetings. We conducted surveys. We sat down and we did small group sessions with them so that we could get their feedback and see how they were impacted by our actions and what was it that they need. Communication. You know, I have a favorite saying that I've shared with a couple of you, and it's that people will do based on what they feel. They feel based on what they believe, and they believe based on what they know. And it's very important for us to communicate with our teammates to make sure that what they know is factual information and to understand what they know and how it impacts them so we can make sure that what they're doing, which is to our citizens, is what we expect for them to do. And then also through recruiting, we're developing a recruiting page. We're attending recruiting events. We're having a diverse organization that mirrors what our citizens look like. And we're working very hard to recruit the best teammates that we can have to enhance our team. We want to build the trust with the community and develop relationships with them. This year, we announced our first ever town hall meeting. We had one with the fire department. We will begin having those quarterly with the fire department, so it's a public safety meeting so we can share information with our citizens. We advertised to host the first Public Safety Citizens Academy. Unfortunately, due to lack of interest, we are not going to have that academy, but we're going to repost that and hopefully get enough individuals that are interested because it gives them an inside, unfiltered look inside the police department and also the fire department. We looked at our high liability areas, our use of force, our citizens' complaints, our pursuits, and we increased our transparency in those areas and made sure that we had the right software so we could document those things and also make sure that we're tracking that information because it's really important for us at the police department to make sure that we understand those particular areas. As you see there, policeone.com is an area in which we also participate in now where we have training sessions for our officers. So they get online training. We're revamping our entire policy manual through Lexipol, and each and every day once we're done, hopefully in April, officers will come in and they will have daily training bulletins on their policy manual. So that way they're getting constant training and not just training once a year or once a quarter. We participated or hosted 24 events. We also participated in 10 speaking engagements. We increased our social media presence, and probably the one that I'm really proud of is this year we had 2 complaints against officers. Of those 2 complaints that were investigated, neither complaint was found to be sustained. We also had 2 pursuits, and both of those were justified. Officers had 595 training hours this year above and beyond their required training. So they have about 600 hours of in-service training this year, all the officers combined, and then 595 hours outside of that mandated training through the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy. Lieutenant Galloway received the FBI Leader Trilogy Award, which is a leadership award for getting all 3 classes in the FBI Trilogy Award. We're working on this year getting the rest, some more of the command staff to receive that. I attended the FBI National Academy course in D.C. Earlier this year. We've had command staff training this year. The command staff collectively, we've read 3 leadership books together, and we've discussed those books on a weekly basis so that we grow and develop our leadership skills to our officers. Again, as I said before, we looked at Police One Training Academy. We've established a training committee, and we've also established an internal recruiting committee. Now let's talk about being the safest city. The figures and the data that I'm about to give you is through November 30th of this year. So it does not include the month of December. So if we do end of the year report, our stats will change from what you see here today. So again, just through November. Our average response time for this year right now is right at just a little over 4 minutes. So that's our response time for this year. As you can see, there are calls for service for this year. This year, officers have done an excellent job because our focal point, particularly in the nighttime hours, have been property checks, making sure that our citizens' homes are protected and our businesses are protected. Just to give you some feedback on that, in a 3-week time period alone, we found about 15 open doors at local businesses here in the city. That's doors that were left unsecured that was found by officers in the middle of the night just because they were doing what they were supposed to do and doing the property checks in the middle of the night. So this year we had 18,675 property checks. We're right at 4,106 calls for service, and the officers have conducted approximately 3,439 traffic stops. Our violent crime numbers for this year mirror what we had last year with 8. That 8 comes from 3 of these incidents were domestic violence related calls. Okay, 3 were domestic violence related calls, which caused that number to be up. Our property crimes are down from 218 from last year down to 142 for this year. Our traffic collisions are slightly up by 4 right now, from 174 to 178 this year. And then there you see our tickets and their warnings that were issued this year. This year we issued 1,135 citations and 2,725 warnings. Our infrastructure investment for this year. Thank you to the city manager and to you. You have approved for us to get new in-car laptops, which greatly increases our time that we're on the road. We've replaced our batteries for our body cameras. We've received a grant, which we're working on now to replace our tasers that we have. We've increased and improved our software for Lexipol in those high liability areas for our rules and our regulations policy. Each officer will be able to access that on a cell phone and also on their in-car laptops. PoliceOne.com is for the training for the officers, so they have real-time training through the computer and get better and enhanced training. And then Benchmark was to keep track of our internal affairs, our use of force, and all that high liability areas that we talked about. All this data that I'm sharing with you today, I could not be more proud of our officers. You know, at the beginning of the year, we were significantly impacted by COVID. I mean, greatly impacted by COVID. I think it was over half of our dispatchers that were out at one time. We had shifts that were depleted. We've had 3 officers that had babies this year that were out for a significant period of time. We had 2 officers that were out due to significant injuries that have been out for more than 1 to 2 months. And then in addition to that, we've had officers that have had to train other officers, so it takes them away from some of their normal duties, and they have to focus on getting that officer prepared. So all this data that I've shared with you is about all these officers working through those obstacles and providing our citizens what I can stand up here and confidently tell you was quality service, and I'm so proud of them and their effort, and they are to be commended for their hard work this year. Any questions? Thank you. I'll wait for you.
Hey, could you speed it up?
So 27 sworn when we're fully staffed. Total with civilian and everybody is 35.
Mayor and Council. First thing I want to do is say thank you to you guys. you guys have supported us consistently in everything we do. I want to thank staff as well. We've done the same thing. We spent a lot of time working on vision and what our vision is. And ironically, before the city released vision, our people identified the same vision, the same steps. We've been blessed. We have also added staff this year. We've got 29 operationally certified firefighters, 23 staff, and 6 operationally certified volunteers. We got 14 support members. We added an admin assistant this year, which was tremendous. We were missing data that we didn't realize we were missing just because there was so much coming in that we couldn't manage in between training and running calls. We've got a part-time fire marshal, which helps us to make sure that our code enforcement pieces are complete. Also does plans review and technical review. So anytime there's a new piece of property that comes in, we look at those as well. So a lot of hours are put towards that. At this point, we don't have 2 vacant positions anymore. We're down to 1. So we're still working. We had one that we had hired, and he turned down the position about a week ago. So we continue to work on that. It's extremely difficult in this environment to get staff. Station 1, you guys, most of you have been there, is our headquarters station. We've got administrative staff there, ladder 1, engine 1. We've got a brush truck and a ski. So our swift water assets are there. At this point, we're trying to get the flat water program back up. And once we get that, we'll have the boat at 2. Station 2 is in the peninsula. It serves the older part of TKK. It serves with an engine company that runs out of there. We got a pumper tanker there, Service 1, and then Marine 2, again, is the boat asset that we're trying to get back in the water this year. So with that comes a lot of training and time for our staff. Some incident data, and it's a little difficult to see. This was a month ago, so the data is a little bit old, just like Chief Crosby alluded to. Today, we're at almost 1,200 calls for service. And you guys can see the breakdown. About half of what we do is EMS calls, which is a little bit odd. Most places are 2/3 medical, 1/3 fire, and we're just about half and half. Our staff is great. They do a very good job. I'm thankful to have them. We mitigate most incidents very quickly and minimize loss. Some initiatives, fire and EMS management. Response, we're always tracking response times, trying to get those down, evaluating those. We do a lot of fire prevention education in the schools, in the communities, and those things we do. Again, plans review. We do inspections on businesses. Most of our inspections are courtesy inspections. They're not punitive, although we do follow up frequently to make sure that those fire and life safety issues are taken care of and that they're remedied. We do some enforcement when we have to. Locked and blocked exits and things that compromise the public safety are the things that we do enforcement on. Pre-incident planning, so we're always out this time of year. We're rolling into January, so as soon as we get into January, we're out doing the pre-planning for our businesses, making sure that we know what's in every business and that we're identifying those things so we can keep our people and the public safe. Operations administration, we cover both sets, both gamuts, and it's a pretty big job. Some initiatives that we have, community risk reduction, that's a big deal for us. We want to be in the community. We've been identified as a fire-safe city and or fire-safe community, and we're going to continue that. There's a lot of data in the background that goes with that. That comes with public service and public safety events. The more we're out, the more we do. Incident action planning. For every event that we have in the city, we prepare an incident action plan. So in the background, while the community is enjoying the event, we're trying to watch and oversee. And we do that in conjunction with police department, public works, and the others to make sure that we're safe and we provide for a safe event for our community. Some emergency management stuff. We worked on a hazard mitigation plan this year for the city and assisted with that. The events, same events that everybody that previously has talked about. We enjoy being involved in the events here. It's something that our guys look forward to. We just finished signing the K. What a huge event. A lot of smiles and a lot of happy people. over this last weekend. Some grants we've gotten this year. We got a Duke Energy grant, and the Duke Energy grant was for swift water assets. So we bought water suits for our guys to protect them, their dry suits, as they get in the water. The Fort Mill Elks has donated money for us for fire prevention and fire prevention education. So just some additional things we do there. The SAFER grant we applied for, we found out last week we did not get that, but we continue to seek grants. We partnered with the Department of Labor and Apprenticeship Carolina this year. That's a grant that they give us. We train every one of our firefighters in EMT. So the Department of Labor and Apprenticeship Carolina gives us up to $3,200 a firefighter that we send to EMT school. And that's primarily for our new hires. But just another place we've tapped a little bit of money to try and save money for the community. 2022 training stats. I'm not going to read all these to you. You guys can read them. Highlights for the year. It says in excess of 4,000 as of today. We looked, we're on track for about 4,400 training hours this year, which is incredible. And my hat's off to the guys and ladies that are working in the fire stations because they're doing some training. Okay. Community involvement. Really happy with this. We've just about tripled our social media views this year. And we're trying to be current and push out information that's going to help and serve the citizens and provide information for them. So, like I said, we've really increased that, and we will continue to do that. We've done Fire Prevention Week open house, which we always do. We partner with the police department for National Night Out. Fire safety presentations at schools, PTAs, PTOs, HOAs, and civic groups. So we're just trying to engage the community more. Thank God COVID's over, so we're able to do that. Okay, some partnerships we have, obviously the city departments, county agencies, York County Fire Service and Emergency Management. We do a lot with those agencies. We are constantly at the South Carolina Fire Academy doing training there and on committees and those things. Fire Safe South Carolina is the Fire Safe City designation that we get. We partner with them. We do a lot of work with them as well. Also, the South Carolina Fire Chiefs Association. National and International Association of Fire Chiefs, we're plugged into them. They give us resources and education information, which makes us a better department and helps us to move forward. The International Code Council is the same thing. Fire Code and Building Code, they work together, so that's who we partner with for that. And in the National Fire Protection Association, they provide information and guidelines for us as we move forward. Some initiatives for us, obviously technology. It's a big thing for us to try and determine where we are, where we're going. We are currently on track for ISO Class 1 fire training. You guys know ISO, the lower the number, the better it is for the citizens as far as insurance. We're increasing our technical rescue training always, and increasing our capabilities as well. Join forces with the police department and with the sheriff's office to do some active violence training this year. And there'll be an exercise sometime in the spring. Mass casualty incident training, we do a lot of that. The county's just done that as a whole. So we're doing some EMT service enhancement, and guys, I'll share with you, we've changed the way we do CPR, and this year we've seen that save 3 lives in our community. So really big deal. Some facility enhancement, those are some things that are coming. Same thing with strategic plan, you guys will see soon. We need to do some facility modifications just to accommodate staff and make sure we're doing what we need to do to move forward. Again, the police academy, or the public safety academy that Chief Crosby talked about, we're looking forward to that. We hope it happens. Hope there's some involvement and interest. And one of the other things that we're going to do in the 22-23 time frame is another fire alarm, smoke alarm blitz. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, thank you,
Chief. Great job.
Save me some steps.
Thanks for looking after Santa Claus Saturday.
Absolutely. It was fun. He was tired.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is our approval of minutes. Does anyone have any additions, subtractions, deletions, discussions? All good? Okay. Well, then I'll need a motion to approve our minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is our committee reports. We will start with our Planning Commission. Councilmember Scott Shirley, please, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and members of council. There was a planning commission meeting on the 7th of November. There was a quorum present. There were really only two topics that were discussed in any detail. One was consideration of a resolution adopting the city center mixed-use plan as an addition to the 2025 comprehensive plan. There was some discussion about that, but that was tabled for the January 23rd meeting. So for anybody that's interested in hearing more about that city center, I would recommend that you attend the Planning Commission meeting here in Chamber Council on January 23rd. They also had some discussion about their Planning Commission schedule for the year 2023, and that was it.
Thank you, Councilman. Our Economic Planning Committee?
Mr. Vandenberg, may I ask a question? Obviously, the chairman of the EDC moved from the city and resigned.
Correct.
We will not meet, they will not meet in December. Is it possible to solicit volunteers for the vacant position and get them to council by the January meeting, or what's the plan to fill the position?
So you've got several committee commission members across all of the boards and commissions whose terms are up come March. Council will actually be selecting new nominees during the March meeting for them to go in April. At this point, Casey, our municipal clerk, is pushing things out to those folks, and we'll be soliciting those after the holidays to the public at large for anybody that wants to jump in and try to volunteer. I wouldn't rush to put somebody up in January. I did meet with the vice chair of the EDC actually this afternoon. He'll chair their next meeting January 30th and can stay in that capacity unless somebody else wants to volunteer to be chair until the April meeting. So, but we've got a few open positions, TK Forever and a couple others where folks have moved, had to step down due to time commitments, things like that. I think you're probably safe in just waiting and doing those so that you don't have somebody coming in for just 2-3 months and just wait until you hit the April.
So if I may, will those invites go out early Q1, I guess?
Yes.
Is that what it sounds like?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So to the existing as well as publicly just advertising that we've got positions. Folks, easiest thing, if you're interested in it, you're following us on YouTube or wherever you're watching this, go ahead and get in and create your profile on Matchboard. That will save you time and make it a lot easier. That is the software system that we demonstrated to council, I think maybe 2-3 months ago. So that's full tilt, ready to roll. So Casey's working on trying to get any of our existing volunteers that would like to be considered again, getting them lined up and in it so that council has the opportunity to look at their applications, and then we'll be rolling it out to the public right after the holidays.
Gus, we're good with the EDC? Okay. TK Forever? Mayor Pro Tem Heisel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. We did not have a quorum to meet, but I was reminded to ask to tell the public that the Christmas ornament is available on Zazzle.com. So far, we've sold 55 ornaments, raised almost $500 for the city. And I will cover real quickly the Parks and Rec Committee, the ad hoc committee. We did meet on the 15th. We approved the survey for the residents, which is going to be published in January. So please watch for that survey, participate. We really want your feedback on what you envision for the future for Parks and Rec. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 6 of the city's Code of Ordinances as it relates to the intentional feeding of wildlife. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 6. The ordinance before council for consideration is an addition to the code that prohibits the intentional feeding of wildlife within the city limits. Council is considering adopting this ordinance based on prior recommendations from SCDNR stating that prohibiting the intentional feeding of deer will assist us with our deer issues. While it won't immediately eliminate the issue, it will help. If adopted, this ordinance will make it illegal to feed the deer, and if caught, fines can be levied against those caught doing it. Gentlemen, do we have any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 6 of the city's Code of Ordinance as it relates to the intentional feeding of wildlife.
Okay, 1 second before we do we have any discussion?
Excuse me.
Mayor, just as a point, you've got a motion. You can do the discussion after the second, but you've got to go for the second.
Second. You got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'll say one thing. For the gentleman that came earlier and was asking about this, I think the intent is what is important and is written in the ordinance, that there has to be the intent to feed the deer, not your grass. So with that.
And I will likewise mirror that. Folks, the reason that this ordinance came about is because we do recognize that we do have an overpopulation of deer. And so we started discussing with SCDNR quite a long time ago that we need to do something about getting our population under control. And that was one of the things they said that we could do. That just requires us to be vigilant and for us to not feed the deer. Let Mother Nature take care of Mother Nature. We don't have to help her. So what we're trying to do with this ordinance is make it to where folks don't intentionally feed the deer. Not the acorns falling off your trees, not the grass growing in your yard. We're talking about folks that go out and put feeding troughs or corn feeders or salt licks or, anything else in their yards that would feed the deer, and do it intentionally. Intentionally is the key word here. So with this, we think that this is going to be a really good combination for us to help the herd heal themselves. And we're gonna go back when everything's all said and done, see how it works for us. But right now, it's a see something, say something ordinance that we're relying on the city and the population for our human population to help us out in this. So it's been a long time coming. It's something that we needed to do, in my opinion, a few years ago. Might would have helped curb the populations that we have. So with that, we took it upon ourselves to adopt an ordinance to where we could help call the deer by taking their food away from them. Yes, sir. Okay.
Yes, if I may, just to add to that, I've received some questions from some other residents about this.
Okay.
And if I may get some clarification on this, Charlie, the maximum fine for this is $500?
That's correct.
Okay.
Staff's plan would be to handle it from a standpoint of if we find someone is intentionally, we would
There's a
start with
process for that, right?
notifying them, tell them that they're in violation, they need to correct that. They'll have a certain period of time in which to correct that, come back out for reinspection. If the action is still occurring, at that point they could be subject to fines.
Good. So the intent of this is not to be punitive, it's to correct action, and
Correct.
there's a process for that.
Absolutely.
We're not just handing out tickets when someone's got corn in their backyard.
Correct.
Okay. In addition to what Mayor Gray said, the SCDNR did share with us that the deer will naturally reproduce based on food supply. And I can tell you there used to be plenty of food supply in my house, in my yard, but there's not that much now, nor is there any intentional feeding. However, if we restrict the intentional feeding, we restrict the food supply, Mother Nature has a tendency to take over from there, and the deer will naturally begin to reduce the number of reproduction, the amount of reproduction. This is not a short-term fix, but it is part of a long-term solution.
Thank you, Councilor.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. 6B, we have a recommendation from the Planning Commission on the public hearing item. Michelle, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Pleasure to be here. Wanted to let you know that the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the TKK Capital Improvement Plan and Development Impact Fee Schedule put before us tonight. Do you have any questions?
Gentlemen, any discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Next item is a second reading of an ordinance adopting the updated capital improvement plan and development impacts fee study. In the fall of 2018, City Council adopted development impact fees. These fees are necessary to help pay for capital items that are needed with the growth of our city. Under state law, development impact fees are required to be updated every 5 years. The ordinance before City Council tonight will adopt the updated study, which includes a new public works impact fee in addition to the impact fees for park and recreation, fire, police, water, and wastewater.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, motion to approve a second reading of an ordinance adopting the updated capital improvements plan and development impact fee study.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Our next item on the agenda is a second reading of an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2022-2023 budgets as it relates to development impact fee schedules. With City Council adopting the new development impact study, the new impact fee rates identified by the study also need to be formally adopted into the fee schedules that were approved during the budget process. The total non-utility impact fees will go from $6,676 to $7,924 per single-family unit, and from $3,839 to $4,666 for multifamily unit. The basic utility impact fee for water and wastewater for a 3/4 inch meter will go from $1,871 to $2,211 with the adoption of this amendment. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor and members of council, I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading of an ordinance amending the fiscal year 22-23 budgets as it relates to the development impact fee schedule.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay. So for that, with the study that we did, these numbers came directly from that study. So it's not like we pulled some magical numbers out of the air. The study that we adopted for this year, the folks that we hired, Tincture, to do the study, they put together these numbers for us, and based on the growth rate that we're going to see, based on the income that we're seeing, and the fees that we're going to incur as far as water, fire, sewer, all of the infrastructure, that's where they came up with these numbers. And it's not a blanket number. This is not like a national chain that comes in and we're just going to cascade these numbers out. It's curtailed for TKK.
Correct.
These are independent numbers for us. It's not like we got the same number as Charlotte, we got the same number as Rock Hill. These are independent numbers for TKK. So, does anybody have any further discussion on that?
Just doing some quick math, the increase in the impact fees is consistent with the rate of inflation change that we've seen in the last year as well.
Thank you for being the mathematician you are, sir.
Not at all, just numbers.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 38 of the city's Code of Ordinances as it relates to park and recreation. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 38. The ordinance before council this evening is amending sections of code related to park and recreation. The reason staff has brought this before council is primarily due to the increased number of special event requests staff receives and due to special events being held by the city. There is a need to formalize the process in order to make sure all events, whether public or private, held within the city are done so in a safe and orderly manner.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, motion to approve the second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 38 of the city's Code of Ordinances as it relates to Parks and Recreation.
I'd like to make a motion to table it. There's a motion on the floor.
Just an example, I'm not making a suggestion, if that's, the people who've made it have got to rescind that motion to get it back off the floor, but until they do, it's the open question. You can't go to another one until it's resolved. It's either tabled, or you go forward, vote it up, or vote it down.
Discussion first.
Sure, let's discuss it. The reason I would like to table it is because there is some discussion that the law is vague and it's not as clear as it needs to be.
So you're saying that the language in the ordinance is vague?
That's what I'm hearing.
Need some clarification?
Yeah, I think that we might need to take it back and make it sharper.
Well, if I may, Mr. Mayor, I can hopefully provide a little clarity. So when we removed the language last time, it said no firearms in any parks or events.
Period, yes.
There's a state law called the Open Carry with Training Act. This is directly from the Municipal Association of South Carolina's directive. It went in effect in 2021, provided for the open carry of firearms for valid permit holders, but it also allows cities and towns to enact open carry restrictions during certain organized events. Since the law went into effect in August 2021, numerous cities and towns have passed ordinances to restrict the open carrying of firearm while on public property and while attending a permitted event. The law requires that when municipalities do this, they must be in specific area, duration, and the manner in which the restriction is imposed and must provide prior notice when feasible. The restriction cannot extend beyond the beginning and the end of the event. Any ordinance banning open carry for any extended period of time would be a violation of the new law. The new law, and then it goes into the type of signs. So the reason Scott made the motion, I seconded it, was to remove the language banning it from the original draft so we'd be in compliance with the new law. However, the new law allows the city at any time to have an event and restrict firearms to those events, but the event has to be designated a certain time frame. So-
And location.
And location, so
Right.
you can't have a blanket restriction for every park and say every event, but you could, at every event, say no firearms at the 4th of July concert from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. at Catawba Park on Friday, July 4th. So that's the reason we had that area removed, if that helps at all. That's what we talked about and why we made that motion.
So I would recommend that we approve it based on the consistency with the state law and giving the city the flexibility to create restriction when necessary. Does that sound fair?
Sounds like a fair thing to me. Any further discussion? Yeah.
No, makes sense. You know, again,
Okay.
it's interpretation, and when the interpretation isn't clearly manifested like you did just now, thanks for that. So everyone knows the specifics of the reason for the methodology of the verbiage of the ordinance.
And just to clarify, it doesn't, the city can still restrict firearms at events. I want to make that clear. So some people are concerned about firearms at events. The city has the authority to restrict firearms at events. They do not have the authority to restrict them carte blanche at every park and every event. That's what the new law says. We had to be in
Correct.
compliance with that. The ordinance as written said that. So we removed that line. That's what we did. Full transparency, you're asking for it. I just wanted to make that clear.
Ma'am, this is discussion between council. This is not discussion from folks in the gallery. Thank you.
Council, it's nuanced in a lot of ways. It's like you were talking about conceal, I mean, you were talking about open carry. When I read that, I didn't see it addressed concealed. Maybe it does. I just briefly glanced at it when I knew you guys were going to consider that tonight. So that's one consideration. That really, well, how about concealed? That's a different category. Another thing the public should understand, they better have a good bladder, because when they have that gun, when they walk in that bathroom, they've committed a felony, because it is against law bringing into municipal buildings. You're all right outside, better not walk in that bathroom, that's a felony.
That's at any time, right?
Yeah. So it's very nuanced, and I just pointed out,
Now,
you
speaking
haven't gotten a lot of representation on this yet, but I'll let you guys go forward if that's what you want to do.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Bob. To the previous council, or excuse me, public comments, a young lady had some concerns about this. And in the spirit of transparency, there is a right that citizens have to carry a firearm that's protected by the Constitution of the United States and the state of South Carolina. In South Carolina, it's such that you must have training and a concealed permit to carry a firearm, unless you're law enforcement, right? Do I understand that correctly? Okay. So with the new law that Councilman Heislip read, in 2021, the state approved that training and concealed carry permit holder to also open carry. So those restrictions can be against open carry, or they could be, we could create restrictions at events for concealed carry as well. Is that right? Do we have any reason we couldn't do that?
I haven't been asked to look at this issue, so if you want me to, I will. But I just need to know what your intent is. I haven't heard what you want to do, and therefore to see if we can thread a needle to get you there. And I'd want to have a conversation with the chief also. So it just, it came up, you guys voted on it the last meeting. I don't know what your intent is.
My intent would not to be, would to not restrict the responsible firearm owner and concealed permit holder to carry their firearm. However, I do see Chief Crosby and the city's point to there could be certain events where public safety could be at a higher risk, giving the city the flexibility to create restriction when necessary.
And you're gonna have the police patrolling the bathrooms, see if a felony's being committed when they walk in there with that gun?
Well, I think with the verbiage as it was written prior to striking, it wouldn't be enforceable regardless. Removing the verbiage, in my opinion, allows
Right.
us to enforce
Right.
as need be, to the best of our ability.
And if there's porta-johns there, then folks can go to the bathroom.
Because it said it had a blanket prohibited all firearms at all parks.
Right.
All events. In this law, whether it open carry, you can't ban it. It says you cannot have it. You have to have limited times. That's why we have to have a strike.
I understand that, and given the discussion, I would say that I think this needs a little bit more work.
All right.
Just my opinion. I think we need to do a little more work. I'm totally for not having firearms at an event. It makes it extremely difficult for our law enforcement to figure out who the good guy is and who the bad guy is, and we don't want them to have to make that decision on the fly. If all the good guys don't bring their guns, it's a pretty easy decision. The bad guys got the gun. Also, don't want to restrict folks' rights to carry their firearms at the parks. I want them to feel safe when they go. If it makes you feel safer to carry your firearm with you, it makes you feel safer. It's great.
So what part of the language do you think we need to reinvestigate?
To Bob's, to add to Bob's, I think we need to figure out exactly a little bit more and sharpen the point a little bit more on the verbiage of this before we go ahead and give it a second read. Just my opinion, guys.
I mean, my suggestion at this point, and for anybody who's here or following along at home, I have a permit. Until this matter is cleared up the way it needs to be cleared up, I mean, I think, and Chief, you may agree with me, you may not, I think we continue to restrict firearms at our city events until these questions are answered. I mean, it changes nothing from the way it was a month ago until all these questions are answered by people that answer questions like these, say, an attorney.
Okay, so I can support that. I would certainly be willing to table this if we're clear on what part of the language we're going to be reinvestigating.
So just so we're clear, in order to do that, I believe, Mr. Shirley, you made the second to Mr. Richard's motion. Y'all would need to remove your second and motion, and a new motion would need to be stated. If that is your intent to table this, I'll be happy to work further with Chief Crosby and City Attorney and provide y'all with the information prior to your January.
I'll withdraw my
regular meeting.
second.
I will withdraw my motion and make a motion to table.
Could we get some direction? I mean, I generally view my job as trying to accomplish what city council wants. I mean, can you give me some direction on what you would like for it to be, or do you want to understand all the parameters before you give us some direction?
I would say, Bob, let's talk about that in executive session.
Okay, that's fine. That's the next thing I was going to suggest. That's fine.
So I make a motion to table this, I second a motion to table this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes
Thank you.
unanimously.
Thanks for the discussion, everyone.
Transparency in action.
Our next item is second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 54 of the city's Code of Ordinances as it relates to utilities. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 54. The ordinance before council this evening is amending the section of Chapter 54 of the Code of Ordinances as it pertains to where the customer's responsibility on wastewater lines end and where the city's responsibility begins. The customer is and always has been responsible for their wastewater line up to the point of connection with the main wastewater line it connects to. The language of this amendment clears up any ambiguity on the matter. Gentlemen, do I have a motion?
Let me have this one. Mr. Mayor and members of council, I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 54 of the city's Code of Ordinances as it relates to utilities.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion?
Gus?
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Our next one is the adoption of the 2023 regular city council meeting schedule. Barring that Councilman Machunas gets a new jet this year, I like to think that our schedule's together, so.
Did we take into consideration his vacations?
Well, he's getting older, so he might want some more vacation time.
Let the record state that I have never rescheduled a council meeting yet, while some of you up here have.
Okay,
Nor have I missed one.
okay. Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 2023 regular city council meeting schedule as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Next item is a contract award for valve maintenance program to the Water Systems, Inc. The city has approximately 1,700 water valves within the system. The valves have to be operated manually on a yearly/routinely basis. As one can imagine, this is a tremendous undertaking and a very time-consuming exercise. The valve maintenance contract will allow the Utilities Department to stay in compliance with SCDHEC and will help with the mapping, the exact location, operational conditions, and the need for maintenance or replacement. This will also help the department by being able to isolate sections of the system in the event of an emergency situation where staff may need to shut down the water for a main repair. Gentlemen, do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion to award the valve maintenance program contract to Water Systems, Inc. for a period of 5 years and an amount not to exceed $14,100 a year for TCUD, and authorize the city manager to execute said contract provided it is in the form and substance approved by the city manager.
City attorney.
No, city attorney.
Second.
Have a first and a second.
I'm paying
Any
attention.
discussion?
No, sir.
Well, I just want to say a little something about this too. With this program, our TCUD folks they're taxed beyond everything they can do. And folks, they do an incredible job for us. This is a little bit help to them because literally all of those valves have to be manually operated every year to be within state compliance. So what this does is this gives them a little bit of breathing room in otherwise schedule that they can't possibly keep. So with this, have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Our next item is a consideration of an encroachment agreement for 1844 Chestnut Hill Lane. The owners of 1844 Chestnut Hill has approached city staff requesting a permit to widen their driveway and use a small portion of city property in order to do so. The total area Brian and Kristen Wickman are requesting is 442 square feet. The agreement requires that the improvements made by the Wickmans are done so using pavers or some other pervious material and strictly prohibits them from using concrete, asphalt, or any other impervious material. This is due to a sewer line in the vicinity of the encroachment area. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, motion to approve the encroachment agreement for 1844 Chestnut Hill Lane and authorize the city manager to execute said agreement.
Second.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. And that would bring us to our city manager's report. Mr. Funderburk, please take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Had a great turnout for the tree lighting festivities earlier this month. To echo something our Parks and Recreation Director Dustin said earlier, I want to thank KDB for an amazing year of events over this past year. She puts a lot of time and effort into the planning and facilitating all these amazing events, and I can't wait to see what she's got in store for us for 2023. I do know first concert will be here on April 15th, so looking forward to that. Our spring sports registration is well underway for our residents, and we'll open up January 1 for non-resident participants. From the looks of things, we'll have another big turnout this year. I hadn't planned on bringing this up, but I do want to address some of the comments earlier about the soccer fees. Our staff runs a cost-to-serve analysis on our programs. We've been, for lack of a better term, taking a bath on our sporting events over the last several years. Basically, they've been running in the red. We haven't adjusted any of our fees since 2018. Soccer fees were not the only fee that was increased. All of our youth sport programs were increased. You never like to go up on fees by any stretch of the imagination, but we want to keep those as cost-to-serve programs, as they've always intended to be, and that's where those recommended fees came from. Has nothing to do with our new partnership with Independence on the soccer programming side of things. In actuality, if you go back and we look at those fees, soccer fees would have been a little bit higher if we were still running it internally ourselves. That particular set of programs, I can tell you, per our agreement with Independence, they have to run it the same way we have been running it. All right, and that's what they are setting out to do. We're excited for the partnership with them, but the fees had nothing to do with them. All right? They had everything to do with the cost to serve on all of our programs, whether it be baseball, girls softball, flag football, and the like. So, and our enrollment is plugging along just as it typically is this time of year, and we expect to see lots more once we get into January. Shifting gears, leaf trucks. Man, that's been a big conversation this fall. But big thank you to our public works staff for getting us caught back up on leaf collections. Fortunately, we're still just with one truck, but our guys are running it constant. I saw them out there even this past Sunday running the truck. So hopefully we'll get the other one back soon, but until then, we're going to keep plugging along. And we may get a little bit behind next week with the holidays and everything, but rest assured they'll do everything to get us back on track very quickly. So hats off to those folks. I know it's been a trying time for a lot of the residents. Yeah, streets were a mess. Thankful for our partnerships with some folks around us that helped us out, and really thankful for our public works staff and jumping right on it as soon as they got the equipment back. Just a quick reminder, January 28th is our council workshop. We'll start promptly at 9 a.m. Again, that will be in the conference room at the Cambria out on 160. Charlie Barano from the Municipal Association will be joining us for that. So looking forward to that coming up in the new year. This morning, we had the pleasure of swearing in our new Chief Municipal Judge, Keeper Simpson. She's a fantastic addition to the team, and we are very fortunate to have her on board and looking forward to great things from her. We have hired a new social media and information specialist and added that to the team. And looks like she'll begin with us first part of February. So we're looking forward to adding that member to our team and enhancing our information and communication even further. Finally, I want to thank all of our staff for another amazing year. Many of them have worked shorthanded. You heard some of that tonight. I don't think we had a single department that did not operate for at least a month or two shorthanded at all this past year. So hats off to them. Their efforts are why this is such an amazing city. Every day I come in and get to see their smiling faces and the hard work that they do, and it's awesome to just be a part of it. So hats off to all of our staff for an incredible year this past year, and we're definitely looking forward to 2023 and all the great things that are to come. Last but not least, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Happy Holidays to everybody. Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Funderburk. Our next item on the agenda is council comments, and as always, we will start with you, Councilmember Shaw.
As always, police, fire, first responders, again, we really appreciate everything you guys do. Great reports tonight. Really impressive numbers there for what you guys are doing for the city. And Dustin, congrats to you as well, your division. That was a great presentation. You know, obviously, point of contention that we all see, you know, we're all imperfect humans. I don't know if anybody in here would stand up and say you're the model perfect human being. We all make mistakes, acknowledge those mistakes, take a step back, evaluate, and make the right decision moving forward. In my personal opinion, you know, I feel that Scott has done that. He made a mistake. He took a step back. He apologized for his mistake on multiple occasions. On the specifics, I have a 40-year-old gay brother. I showed him Scott's comments because I was confused initially on how it came out to be anti-gay. And again, I don't watch the news very often, so it's one of those things. But so I, you know, resorted to my brother. Hey, tell me what you feel about these comments that one of my fellow council members made. And he was in the least bit offended. He said it was stupid for what he said. You know, it was a bit aggressive, I think is what Brandon said, but didn't feel like it was, that your comments were directed at that community specifically. And so that was something that I was confused about initially with how that had been identified. But I feel you did the right thing by acknowledging, taking a step back, apologizing for your actions and what you said. People's feelings get hurt. It is what it is. It's not anything we want to do. Again, we're all imperfect. And thank you, Gus, for stepping up. I couldn't have said it better. Really appreciate you chiming in there at the end. And that's, you know, it's the spirit of giving, guys. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you, Councilman Richard. Councilman Tunis.
Well, first, thanks to everybody who came and spoke. I wish that those who did had stayed around to watch the rest. I feel like we discussed a little more, so maybe that was a little more transparent for those that have been asking for transparency, and we'll try and do more of that in the future when it's ever possible. You know, as I said earlier, we don't always agree, but we can be civil about it. So I meant what I said. I get a little emotional about that, but I'm tired of all the hate and anger and vile comments. It's just it's not called for. Let's be nice. Chief, as always, thank you guys for an outstanding job of taking care. You know, public safety is one of the biggest responsibilities of a city council, and you guys make it easy for us. So thank you for doing an outstanding job, and your staff and everybody and our staff. And I'm going to echo, you know, my wife and I were talking the other day, and I was saying what a great hire KDB has been, and her contributions to the city and the city events, and how hard she works to make these things seamless and have fun for all of us. I truly believe this is the good life, and that's part of what the good life is having a community to come together and have some fun, whether it be a concert or Christmas tree lighting or any other great things that we do here. So I will disagree with anybody who mentioned the good life. This is the good life. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. If there's another holiday that you want to celebrate over the next month, well, happy whatever it is too. Everybody be careful out there. Don't drink and drive. And I guess next January will be the first of my last 12 meetings.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Machunas. And yes, we know that we're going to be parting with you, and I'm truly sorry for that. But nevertheless, Councilman Shirley.
Yep. Can't help but echo the gratitude that I have personally and that I know our city has for our public safety team, for Chief Hasty and Chief Crosby. What a great job you guys do. And it's easy to say that because we live in one of the safest cities in the country, the safest city, arguably number 1 or 2 in the state. And it's because of what you presented tonight, the dedication that you have to your team, the leadership that you show to that team, the training that you have committed to for your people, and creating an environment where your folks can come to you and talk to you about what they need. There's a lot of businesses that don't do that, and really appreciate what you guys do. Specifically, thank you for that. Had an opportunity, also, Dustin, thank you for your presentation. It was very professional, very encouraging. What you and your team and those before you, Joey and Charlie, have done to our city to make it a great place for our folks to come and have fun and enjoy themselves and enjoy the facilities that we have. It's really commendable. Had the opportunity to meet one of your staff members today that was really enjoyable for me. You listed him in your presentation, Paul Bardolato. Did I pronounce that right? My son is sitting in the back here, and I was actually at the gym with him, and he introduced me to Paul. And they worked together at Camp Cherokee, and they both couldn't say enough good things about each other. And Noah commended him also and his style. So I think you've got a good long-termer there. So great hire, great job. Thank you to all the citizens that came here today and spoke their opinion. First Amendment's a painful and wonderful thing, but it is what it is, and I'm glad to hear everybody's feedback and all the good and bad that's going on in our city and things that we have that we can improve on. Gives us certainly something to work for. And I appreciate what it takes to stand up at that microphone and tell us your name and address and how you feel about what's going on. I took a lot of notes like I did last month. I don't know if any of you noticed, but we took some pretty significant notes between Casey and myself and some of the other council members, and we put out notice online to respond to all of the public comments. I really liked that we did that, and I hope we can continue to do that to continue to give feedback to our residents for their comments. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Shirley. Mayor Pro Tem Hyslop.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to echo the thank you for all the citizens to come out. I wish it was as crowded every month. We appreciate your feedback. We take it to heart. Echoing what Ryan said, we're human. We make mistakes. We're learning, trying to do the best we can, and we'll keep trying to improve every day. So thank you for coming out. Police and fire departments, thank you so much. Great presentations tonight, and thank you for everything you did this year. Recently with the Holidays for Heroes, or Holiday with Heroes, Santa visiting the city, Chief, that was awesome. And I really appreciate all you do. Dustin, great job with Parks and Rec. You guys do a wonderful job. The, youth sports programs are sought after in the area. I hear about people driving from all over to come and play here. So that's a testament to what the programs you run, and thank you so much. I see, was he still here? There he is. Used to be captain. Now assistant chief. And Major Patterson, congratulations on your promotion. And Captain Holland, I don't know if, there you are. Congratulations. Two well-earned promotions. Great to welcome Judge Simpson today. That's an exciting hire for the city. Maren and Joe, congratulations on Employee of the Year, and Janet, congratulations on Department Head of the Year. One thing that wasn't mentioned, I wanted to throw out there real quick, Bob and Dana from our Finance Department, they won for the third consecutive year the award for Distinguished Budget Presentation, so congratulations to them. And real quickly, just thank you to the Public Works with the leaves. I know Charlie hit on it earlier. I know a lot of citizens didn't think anything was being done, but that department was doing everything they could to get them leaves off the street with any piece of equipment they had, including the buckets. So thank you to the Public Works Department for everything you did with that. And to the entire city staff, thank you for making the holidays so wonderful. We had the tree lighting this year was just extra special. Of course, Topeka Drive looks great, and I know a ton of work goes into all those events and festivities. And thank you so much. And with that, I just want to say I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Heisler. So that brings it my turn. Folks, we are at my favorite time of the year, and my favorite time of the year being the holidays. The reason that I love the holidays so much is because we get to bring the family together, and the kids don't have an excuse not to come home. You know, all the good cooking and all the good meals and the camaraderie that's shared around the tables. It's just my favorite time of year. It's also a great time of year with the new year, to let things go and start with a fresh foot. Folks, we are all here and we share the same dirt. We're all going to have differences of opinions. Myself, I think everybody needs to love each other. And I've been preaching it from start and I'll be preaching it at the finish. And we all need to take into account, everybody's got feelings. Everybody's got a heartache, they've got a habit, and they've got a hang up. And it's not on us to judge each other. It's on us to help each other. And it's on us to meet each other where they are at that particular time. I have been through a lot in TKK. And everyone in TKK has always offered a hand and a heart to help me. And I will say this to all of the citizens of TKK. You always have a heart and you always have a hand when it comes to me. You can always get in touch with me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I'm constantly on call, and I will be more than happy to help anyone at any point in time. I say that to say this. Our first responders have done a terrific job this year of helping everyone at any point in time. So has all of our city staff, including our city manager. He has done an outstanding job. Dustin, you've done an outstanding job with our children as well. Folks, the business and operations of Park and Rec, it takes a lot of money to operate the program that we have. And sometimes we just have to raise those fees up a little bit to accommodate the cost of doing business. I can assure you we do not waste a dime of anyone's money for this city. Every dime is gone over. Everything is poured over to try to find a better way than to raise any money, i.e. taxes. We're going to continue to do the best we can for this city. We are constantly learning. Folks, we make mistakes. I make mistakes every day. But the good Lord gives me the opportunity the next morning to put my feet on the floor and make a difference and change what I made a mistake on the day before. It's not that I agree with any statements that were made or weren't made or inferred or anything. But what I will say is that, folks, we have to love each other where we are. So at this point in time in the holidays, if you find someone that doesn't have a table to sit at with a lot of folks during the holidays, invite them over to your home. Open your table and your heart to them. If somebody needs a little help, say they're finding it hard to buy some Christmas presents for their kids, reach down in your pocket, pull out that extra $5 that you were going to maybe go see something else or go to a movie on, and help them get some Christmas presents for their kids. I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. And folks, just let's turn the corner and be better folks next year for TKK. And with that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
real
sir.
quick before adjournment, you had mentioned earlier in the conversation about doing an executive session. Were you wanting to do that tonight, or are you wanting to do that at your next meeting?
I would, let's do that at the next meeting. With that, I appreciate everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you very much for spending your time with us this evening. I know that there are a lot of things that you'd rather do than be here. But we appreciate everyone's time. We appreciate everyone's effort. We appreciate everybody's comments, and we'll do our best to get back to you as quickly as possible on the comments.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn in a second. Do I have, I've got a motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.